Hi, everybody. So I don't know what episode we are, but we're on another episode of Conversations with Dr. Cowan and Friends. And I again have a new friend, Justin Frandson, who is the owner and I think chief idea person, let's say, behind a company called EMF Rocks. That's EMFROCKS.com. And this is a very interesting, I'm going to preface this by saying a number of people that I actually trust and respect in how they think, a bunch of them said to me, Tom, you should check out this stuff called EMF Rocks. And basically, one of the most asked questions I've had in the past number of months, there they are right there. One of the most asked questions I've had over the past few months is how can that means people asking me, protect myself against EMF poisoning, EMF toxicity. And obviously, our whole book, The Contagion Myth, was we have a lot to say about EMF toxicity. The other thing I'll say is I came to this idea that EMF, electromagnetic fields are a problem, a little bit kicking and screaming. And what I mean by that is I thought, well, I knew a lot about food and I knew a lot about other kinds of poisoning. And it was one of those things that I would almost say, like, I just didn't want to hear about because I knew that the repercussions of knowing or thinking that it was a problem were going to be a lot, for my patients. And it was going to be a lot of, oh, this is a problem, and then people saying, well, I can't do anything about it, that's my job. But I started hearing stories from patients. I remember one guy whose job was putting in high-end wireless devices in very rich people's houses, right? So that's about as sort of toxic exposure as you could get. But he was also fine. And when I asked him about his history, he said that he had a habit of spending about 2 hours a day swimming, surfing in seawater off the California coast. And as long as he did that, he didn't think about that, but he was basically fine. And then one day, a few months before he came, he fell off his surfboard, fractured his wrist, and they ended up putting a metal plate in his wrist, steel plate, right over the sort of acupuncture meridians. A few weeks later, when he was back at work, now not surfing and being and having this metal plate, he ends up with cardiac arrhythmias and basically a whole syndrome that looks like chronic fatigue. And it was so striking to me that basically he was doing therapy for himself by swimming in the ocean 2 hours a day. And as long as he did that, he was a little bit resistant to what seemed like a very toxic job. Then when, for whatever the circumstances, he couldn't do that anymore, and somebody put an antenna in his wrist, then he just couldn't manage, and basically his life fell apart. I had another experience of a guy who didn't believe me about EMF problems. And again, worked for a telecom company or something doing wireless. And he had a wireless router right under the chair where he spent 8 hours a day basically working. And then he gets rectal cancer. And I said, you may not want to have that thing right under your rectum like that. And it's not funny, but what was so striking is he just couldn't see it. And eventually, it didn't go well. And so, and I started having more and more cases like that it was like, Tom, you better wake up here. And then, of course, I read Arthur Firstenberg's book on the Invisible Rainbow and a sort of documentation of the problem here. And at that point, it's like you can't get slapped in the face so many times. Eventually, you have to say, hey, I think there's a problem here. Eventually, I ended up also going to a lecture by a guy named Dolph Zantiga, who talked about the connection between millimeter waves and water. And obviously, I'm sure, Justin, I've written a lot about water. And I think that's the mechanism. Essentially, these electromagnetic fields, which are non-native, decrease the structuring or the coherence of our water, which is really who we are. And then you end up not doing well. I mean, it's not rocket science. Anyways, the next thing then, of course, is what should I do about it? And as time goes on, I probably have 10 different devices in my house and on my neck. And I got an EMF Rocks bag in my pocket here that you graciously sent me. And I got one underneath my bed. And I thought to myself, I need to hear more about this. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you. And I would love to hear anything you've heard me say that didn't sound right. I always ask people to correct me. And then just tell me the story, how you got into this, what is EMF Rock? Because the other principle is I would always rather use a device from the earth, device from nature, and I don't even necessarily mean a device. I mean like swimming in the salt water or in the ocean. I mean putting my bare feet on the ground. I'm not saying that electrical devices may not be good. They may be. But I don't want to say I know something works when I don't really know. And that's a long-winded explanation, which I tend to do. But then I'm going to turn the floor over to you and just try to help people by clarifying what you say. And again, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to hear it. And I think I'm probably going to learn a lot. And there you go.
Tom, amazing. Thank you so much. And you're right on point with everything. I mean, what I like to look at is awareness and having that awareness, and the experiences that you've seen, it brings you to awareness. Like you're absolutely acknowledging that and understanding that proximity to it, and those things possibly are a major reason for what happened. So, and then when you understand the science behind it, that's where it gets really profound. So for me,
let's because I would say I don't understand the science behind it, really. I know some. So I'm hoping that in a half an hour, I know a lot more about it.
So let me start there with you. And there's a living connective tissue matrix. Our nervous system has it from our brain, our spinal column, our cranial nerves, our peripheral nerves. They control our entire body. Our bodies are essentially that have this bioelectrical process. It's a bioelectrical organism. It's just human physiology. And we have, through the thermodynamics and the piezoelectric effect, like every system in our body, in the universe, even at the cellular level, from electrons spinning, neutrons and protons, like it's the same as our planet. Everything is generating an electromagnetic field. So that's how we get that energy. And that electromagnetic field is different from a man-made electromagnetic field. So this living connective tissue matrix is the framework for everything that's alive. And that's where we have to understand that basic. So Stephen Schwartz, one of my colleagues, he wrote a book called Primal Resonance. He's a doctor of chiropractic, kind of dives into that at a different talk than our other favorite book, The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Firstenberg. But that's really the basics of this. And now we go into the Schumann resonance. Now, let
me just stop you for a minute. Maybe it would be helpful just to give a brief, here's your background and how you I don't necessarily mean like educational training, but how did you come to this or be interested in this?
Okay, great. So to take a few steps back, I am a athleticism performance coach. I own a company called Athleticism. Athleticism.com is my other website. I've been working with amateur and professional athletes for over a couple decades. And I do performance work, sensory and motor nerve treatments to optimize performance. I work with concussions. I can get them back really quickly because I'm reestablishing neural pathways. And I use a lot of light and manual treatments to optimize the body. And I just have a gift of working with the body, and recently published a book, Athleticism, Whole Body plus Whole Brain equals Performance. And it kind of denotes my entire career of working with all these major athletes, teams, and corporations to optimize performance. What I saw in my field was athletes were breaking down when they're wearing wearable technology, smartwatches, and then driving Teslas, and they were being bombarded with cell phones and having routers next to their bed, playing these video games nonstop with a screen right in front of their face. You go into any NFL combine camp, you'll see these guys during their downtime, they have a massive screen in their face and they're playing video games. I mean, we're just getting blasted at every level. And so
what I'm hearing is you came to this not because of, say, theoretical science, but because you have a job to do, which is help people perform better.
Right.
And like any honest person, you wanted to be successful. And what you were seeing is these people who needed to perform, when they were on devices, they were breaking down.
They were breaking down for no apparent reason. I mean, I reached over here and, oh, my back went out. Oh, my Achilles went out when I was just recreationally having fun playing pickleball with my family. Like, there was nothing significant that would take a high-level athlete out. So I looked to the invisible stressors, and the EMF, the electromagnetic fields and frequencies, came up as number one stressor that I found. So 7+ years ago, I started diving into it, and I started researching it, talking to all these doctors, because I also do podcasts, and we've done it for years with different doctors. And I did one on electromagnetic fields and frequencies and EMF, and I asked about a dozen different doctors that I had on, what was the number one stressor on the body? And they all said EMF was, and this was several years ago.
And maybe let's even go basic. Define what an EMF is.
It's electromagnetic field or frequency. So when we go into fields, everything in our entire universe is waves and particles. And the sound that we're hearing right now, the light that we're seeing right now, it's all travels in waves. And when we start to understand the waveform of everything, we'll grasp this concept a little easier. So man-made EMF is a one-directional wave. It's a polarized wave. It's meant to go in one direction. And when it hits something, it'll start banking off the walls and cause a vibration. This vibration effect is what affects us. And Dr. Martin Paul says it opens up the voltage-gated calcium channels. It lets positive calcium into a negative cell. So we know that a couple of things. We know the speed of the wave is 10 zeros faster than how we sleep, rev, and optimize, and I'll get to that in a second. We know that it's a one-directional wave, and we know that it has a polar opposite charge than what we do and the Earth does and the ocean does. It's a positive charge, the ocean, the Earth, and we have that negative ionic charge. So those are the three strikes against man-made EMF. Now, let's talk about...
Let me just interrupt for a second. I think it was important when I realized that the reason EMFs have those three problems is because that's the only way they can work.
Right.
it was sort of a revelation. Like, you can't have a radio wave, a man-made radio wave, and not have it be those three properties.
Right.
That's the problem. Otherwise, it doesn't work, and you can't play your radio.
Right.
So it's
our government, right? And our government's known about this since the '60s. But let's go back to the speed of the wave.
Yeah.
Tom, when we're sleeping, when we're in a brainwave state, it's either a delta or theta brainwave state. Our brainwave state is 1 or below 1 to 8 waves per second, or 8 hertz. That's a really low and slow brainwave state of our body. Now, where I was going to is the Schumann resonance. The Winfried Otto Schumann, he discovered that the Earth and the ionosphere of the atmosphere has a pulse, and they call it now the Schumann resonance because he figured it out, and it's 7.83 hertz, or waves per second. So the Earth has this healing pulse, and it's extremely low frequency. It's ELF. It's the same as how we sleep, rev, and optimize. Now, when we're in an alpha state, like when we're flowing, when my athletes are like just on top of their game, they're in the zone, they're flowing about 8 to 12 hertz or waves per second. So we optimize in this really low and slow brainwave state.
You've measured that, so you know that. You measure those things.
You can quantify them. There's so many different, heart math is one. There's so many different technologies that can quantify your brainwave state. And the sleep trackers, all the sleep trackers, they're tracking where you're at and how deep of a REM sleep you get into, which is basically your theta state.
Yeah.
So that's where we want to really understand just basic science behind this and waveform. Now, your router, your cell phone, that's 2.45 billion waves per second. You're holding that in your hand, 2.45 billion waves per second. And then the 5G is 60 to 90 billion waves per second. And these are one directional waves, again, positive charge, so much faster than how we sleep, rev, and optimize. So they end up being very, very different than what our body's used to. And I use the analogy, if you were to add 10 zeros to someone's bank account, is that a significant difference? Most everyone would say yes. And it's the same for our body. When you add 10 zeros to the speed of a wave that's one directional, that's a polar opposite charge of how our collective tissue, matrix, this living life force matrix of electrical field is, it's a different system on us, and it's an invisible stressor on our body.
Got it. I got it. Brilliant.
So when it's just that simple, but we're so resilient as a human species, it's challenging to quantify when someone will break down. And what I found working with lots of incredible doctors who are studying the EMF is that our body ends up breaking down first off and getting decharged. So our eyes, our teeth, our thymus, and our small intestine area, which is right below your belly button, are the first areas that get decharged. Once you lose that negative ionic charge, that's when you become a gateway for more stuff. And we don't know.
And what do you mean by decharged? What would a person experience at that point?
It's really subtle, and that's where the challenge is. It's like you're just not on your energy. You're not on your game. And you just really don't know when you're going to get decharged. That's why the story of your patient going surfing, and I surf all the time as well, you feel so good. It's because you're swimming in this bed of negative ions, which you get all these electrons from that recharge your body. Plus you get the stoke, you're breathing this air, you get the adrenaline rush, you get all these different, the camaraderie, the fun factor. It's like amplified, as far all the good. That's what health is. So we're really wanting to get more of that in our body. So we don't know when you get decharged. There's not like the light just goes off and goes, oh, I'm decharged. You just slowly just feel off. but the eyes are so sensitive, and that's where we feel it a lot. The teeth will get small fractures in it. They'll slowly start to crack and break. And that's where you'll see a dentist will see it in the office. And the thymus, that's your electrical system for your entire body. When that's off, then your whole system, your whole electromagnetic system's off. So that's probably one of the most important things to keep charged. So,
and do you get sick? Like, do you get like what we call flu-like symptoms, or not so specific? Like,
not at the first stage, not at all. It's just you're like, oh, I'm a little tired today. Let me go get some sleep, and you can most people can kind of bounce back a little bit. And then the small intestine is like the digestion area. That's your second brain down there. So that's why everything you're talking about with all your new products and supplements it's incredible to build that gut health back up and keep your immune system strong, because a lot of it relies on your whole body, but mostly in your gut area. So we want to recharge those areas first. I think that's the first thing. We can use the grounding bag to do that, which is really cool. You actually place it on your lap, and you would tap on it with one hand and put your other hand over your eyes, over your teeth, over your thymus, and over your stomach for about 30 seconds. Do one at a time each. That is an applied kinesiology technique where we're taking the good in the crystals. We have these moisture and magnetic properties in them, and we're saying, hey, recharge those areas. So it's like specific.
Justin, I think we jumped over some steps here. Okay. Let me go back a little. It's interesting. One of the things I'm thinking is, I don't know how many years I've thought based on the observation that when I don't feel well or when I'm tired, you feel it in your eyes.
Right.
That's the experience is I feel this funny, heavy feeling in your eyes, and I've never actually had an explanation of why that might be, and I think I just got one. So that's very interesting. So basically, I think where we're at now is, so we have this, human beings are beings of these natural earth, sun resonances, which are negatively charged, non-pulsed, and in many different directions. And we introduce the, positive charged, pulsed, high intensity frequencies, and we start altering our electromagnetic charge, and that's what we call the steps towards illness. I think that's where we are, and we even see it in these 3 places, or 4 places: the eyes, the thymus, the small intestine, and teeth. Right, got it. All right. So if you see any of those, you're on the road, so to speak.
Definitely. And the cool thing is we can recharge those really quickly with the grounding bag just by tapping on it and covering it over. It's applied kinesiology technique. And the other big symptoms, I think, what people really want to understand is like, hey, what are the symptoms of EMF toxicity? And a lot of it's just first stage is cognitive stuff, your focus, memory, your behavior, fatigue, anxiety, stress, headaches. Like those are the first subtle, you'll lash out pretty quickly. Maybe your sleep, you get a little insomnia, you're not getting that deep sleep. Those are the main things that on level 1. Level 2 would be more ringing in the ears, bloody noses, muscle twitches. You're going into a more severe headache or migraines. Those would be like the next step up. And then you go into the bigs, which is all the bigs: Alzheimer's, cardiovascular, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. I think those are the top 5 bigs that when we're decharged, that we get hit from. But the big thing is to know is when your body is recharged and you recharge those 4 areas specifically, and you go barefoot and earth and ground, go touch a tree, this acts like walking barefoot in a bag, just holding this. But when you recharge those areas, you're able to heal. People can't heal very easily, or if at all, if they're decharged. And that's the cycle that we're seeing with this excessive amount of stressors tapping on the shoulder all night long saying, hey, wake up, wake up, wake up. And you're going, wait, I want to sleep. And then it happens all day and they're just getting bombarded by it.
Got it. Okay. I think we got a good handle on the trouble now. So you looked at this and you see it in your life and in your work, and you say to yourself or something, okay, let's see how we can fix this. Now, obviously we could say everybody has to, live in moonwood houses and walk barefoot and swim in the ocean, but I think there's other ways of doing it. So tell us about how you go about thinking, what else can we do here? And then what is in those bags and what are we talking about here?
Definitely. Well, Tom, my first recommendation is proximity and awareness, similar to what you saw right away. It's like, hey guys, we're built this one way, and anything man-made, any wireless device, we have 3 different stressors of electricity. We have electricity, which is your electrical outlets. You have dirty electricity, which could be sparking in lines from signals, the one directional signals going in and out of a junction. They have to meet the same level or you'll have massive sparking in the line. And then if your dim switch, if your lights are dimmed, they're trying to keep the level of the light that you're requesting. That'll cause lots of sparking in the line. That's dirty electricity. Same as a battery storing electricity for solar. The solar panels, they act like a battery, and then the actual battery that stores it is a massive amount of energy in there that's captured and it's trying to get out. That causes lots of vibration. That's static. That's called dirty electricity. So most people with solar have really high levels of dirty electricity if you were to plug in a Stetzer electric meter. And then you go into all the wireless signals. Anything wireless, from your computer, your phone, your Nest AC unit, a Ring doorbell system, Alexa, smart TVs, wireless smart meters. Josh Del Sol did an incredible documentary on the smart meters and Take Back Your Power. And that has a huge, that's a intermittent pulsing of millimeter waves that are disruptive. So those are the stressors that we want to look for and figure out proximity awareness with them. So have timers on your routers and shut down your routers at night when you're sleeping. Make sure you put all your devices on airplane mode and then off. Charge them outside of your room. Get your smart meter converted to an analog meter. You can call your gas and electric company and say, I want to opt out of my smart meter and I want an analog meter and no radio frequency. And all these stressors can be easily quantified with 3 different meters: electricity meter, a Stetzer electric meter, StetzerElectric.com. You go and you plug it in the wall. That's for dirty electricity. And then a acoustometer, a radio frequency meter. So you can get these meters and see it. And so I have a daughter, she's 12. When we actually hold up a radio frequency meter to her phone, your phone looks quiet when she's holding it, but then you point this meter at it and it starts screaming. And that's the noise and the sound that our body hears, that animals hear, that most humans they don't have the capacity to hear, but that's the vibration that's constant on our body. So first off, proximity awareness, understanding shutting down. Look at your electricity wiring, make sure it's healthy wiring. Some of the older homes aren't wired well. Really, in California, I'm in California, I live in Newport Beach, and we have a mandate now for all new homes to have solar on it. Well, that's going to cause lots of dirty electricity. So understand how to build these things and normalize these charges. And a lot of it, Tom, they're manufacturing challenges. They can ground this stuff out just by making it better. And you see some Teslas, some of the dashboards are really high and some of them are a lot lower milligauss, depending on how well they've wired it. They realize that they're cooking a lot of people, having them sit under massive batteries. with the whole front dashboard milligauss, and then the whole thing radio frequency driving. So understand electric cars aren't necessarily the solution for the environment or your health. Right. So those are huge things to look at. Also, now when we get to our solutions, which are the EMF Rocks grounding bags, we hand mine crystals.
Okay, so let's stop there for a minute. So the first step is mitigation and avoidance, right? And I don't think there's anybody who's at all familiar in this field who says, "Oh, don't worry about avoidance. Just suck on your cell phone all day long." Or I used to, when I was practicing medicine, I had this way of taking a history, and people would come in and, "Oh, I have my joints pains for 6 months." And I would always say, "So when did you get that that watch, the thing there?" "Oh, I got that like 8 months ago." It was uncanny how often the exact symptom that people were coming to me, their wearable device started in a few months before that. So mitigation, and even we could maybe get into this, but some people advocate for sleeping in a Faraday cage, and I'm not sure I like that so much. So let's, I think you can't, so here we are in a world where you cannot avoid everything, right? That's just, we should, nobody's saying to not think about these things that you said, and not get meters, and not do, prudent things to avoid. That's goes without saying. But then here we are, we have these exposures. Now what?
Well, now you actually have that awareness and understanding, and you can dive deeper into nutrition and your own life force, and really doing breath work, getting your chi up. I mean, Shaolin monks, like they're not affected by the EMF because their chi, their energy, their life force is so strong. Now, we don't sit around and do breath work all day, so we have to look to other solutions to get our life force up. But nutrition, eating right, getting your supplements in you, and getting that just pure minerals and nutrients from the earth are huge for keeping you up there. You'd also look at your own within your body, getting rid of heavy metal toxicity in the teeth. I mean, there's so many books. This one is another book I picked up. It's all about your mouth. I mean, he even talks about heavy metals in your teeth and how they're charge you and cause more electromagnetic sensitivity. So start to do heavy metal flushes. But when you do the flushes, you'll want the grounding bags, because most people get decharged when they do a heavy metal detox. And that's why they have
grounding bag
symptoms.
What's a grounding bag? What's it? What is it like? I know what it looks like, but what's in it? How does it work?
We hand mine crystals, and we basically found through a doctor that was using the same protocol and treating his patients with it. We found that these crystals, they're colloid crystals, they're Tesla crystals, they have a magnetic charge and a moisture charge, and they're beautiful pink crystals. And we have about a pound of them inside here. And what they are is the combination between the source of the mine, the quality of the stone, and the magnetic and moisture content combined are unlike any other stone. They're unlike shungite or amethyst or any other crystals that are known to repel EMF. And what they do is, it's like walking barefoot in a bag. You're bringing the Schumann resonance to your bedroom, and it transmutes electric fields that are blocking you. It helps normalize the frequencies. It's essentially converting a waveform. It's physics, Tom. It's converting a waveform from really disruptive, one directional, to basically unpolarized around you. And that's what our science is bringing nature to your bed and then deploying it in a way. And we have it inside of a silver Faraday bag. And this one is for your cell phone. It protects you from your cell phone. But when the crystals are inside the Faraday bag, inside this cloth bag, it actually helps repel the bad, but then it shows the good shows through. It's not an ironclad Faraday cage where no signals go in and out of frequency, actually travel in and out of that bag. But for some reason, when there's good in there, the good shows through, and then the bad gets repelled. And that's more of a physics thing that's challenging to explain, but it just works really, really well.
Okay, let me see if I got this. So basically, crystals of all different sorts, but some more than others, are also resonating with the frequencies of the earth. And
Right.
so just like any kind of resonance, if you take certain crystals that are themselves resonating with the earth, and some more than others, and you put that next to your cat or your body, that will create a resonance field with you, which is the kind of resonance field that is what you're saying is the source of life.
Right.
And so there's nothing sort of magical about it. It's just basically the waveform of the earth is, these crystals have been made over whatever period of time. They themselves are resonating with the frequency of the earth. You put them next to you, and that resonates with you and creates more of these healthy frequencies, more of these negative ions or whatever words you want to use. That is what we call charged and healthy.
Right.
So when you put them in a bag, a Faraday bag, so what is going in and what is going out? Do we have any sense of that?
It's really the good shows through. When you put it in there, like good things become better and they show through. And that's what's really cool about the physics side of it. And then if you put
meaning these resonant frequencies that create health in us.
Right. Exactly. That'll shine through, and then the polarizing stuff will get repelled. And so if you were to put your phone in this or something in this, it's and go through X-ray. So actually, let me back up. If you were to go and travel with this and go through TSA, they're going to ask you to open it up and see what's inside there, because X-ray can't see through the Faraday bag. So when you're traveling, you got to take out the inner bag and then go through TSA. So good shows through, but the bad gets repelled, and that's just how it works. But the cool thing is too, let me move over to our Faraday bag for a second. This guy I just love because it protects you from your phone. It protects your phone from an electromagnetic pulse. So it quiets the noise of the phone that's screaming, all night long, looking for signals. The stuff is always looking.
But the phone still works, right?
The phone will still work sometimes in there. The newer phones will work definitely in one Faraday bag. And this is what I was getting to is the new phone's strength, the 5G phones are so strong that they basically blast through this thing. An old phone in this, if you were to find your phone on a map and see if you could find the location of your phone, it won't show up on the map. Yeah. But with a new phone, you need to double up. You need 2 Faraday bags, and then your location won't show up on the map. So for contact tracing on a new phone, like you put it in 2 of those bags, one and then a double out over another, they can't find you. Your location won't show up. So the signals go in and out of this, but the new phones are so strong. You need to double up now. And that's as strong as a Faraday bag that I can make is 7 ml. And I need 2 of those to block that signal. And sometimes your phone will ring, sometimes it won't, depending on the age of the phone and how close the signal is and such.
Right.
So
in that grounding bag that you showed us a minute ago, in which I have in my pocket and have under my bed, that contains one of those crystals that you showed us, right?
A pound of them, yes.
A pound of them.
Yeah.
that were mined in this place and put in a plastic bag so they don't dry out, right?
Right. We double seal them to
And
preserve their moisture properties. So they're hard as a rock. I mean, these are like solid. When they lose their moisture content in them, they'll lose their form. So they'll turn to dust. When they lose their form, they lose their function. So that's why these crystals are so profound, is no one's found them in a solid form and used them like this. And that's why we sell them at doctor clinics all around the country. They work so well.
so the difference is that you actually have not sort of powdered crystals or broken down crystals, but you have, I mean, that's what mine feels like. It's a 1 pound crystal that's in this plastic bag that's in a Faraday cage in a cloth bag.
Yes.
So how does one use them?
You use it as is. So when you get it, you literally put it, you have the mini in your pocket that you showed, you put it in your pocket. And then I put my phone on the outside of that. So if I'm carrying my cell phone, there's that buffer between my body and the phone. And then the grounding bags, we call them a deep sleep grounding bag. You literally put it at the head of your bed, and you can put it on your bed or underneath your bed. If it's under, lean it against the leg of the bed. You want it touching the bed. That will ground out that area. At the head of the bed, every wall has electricity going in it, and we, for some reason, like to pay more to have our outlets wired live. When you go into a hotel, code is to have the outlets turned off until you plug something in. Ours, it's just always charged. So if your bed's touching your wall, it's charged to the level of the outlet. It's unbelievable. We just love this low level radiation. And so,
right, so you put it under your bed, touching the bed frame. Is that right?
That's one. Or on your bed for people that are way more sensitive and need to heal and need to clear stuff. I recommend it on your bed, at the head of your bed, like literally right above your head, where you're not bumping into it, because it will make some noise because of the Faraday bag. So, but it's just right above you, there's inches from your head. That will give you an incredible deep sleep.
Got it. And then some other uses, like putting it on your belly or tapping it, or what? Can you go through those?
Tom, let me go through some of the other home care protocols. So that was the body care protocol, the tapping on it that I first shared. Now, when you're clearing in a home, you want to clear sources directly first. So your bed's a source, your desk is a source where you have a computer. Clear those two. So you would put one on or underneath your bed, you would put one on or underneath your desk. Now, the other thing you would do is
touching the desk, or just anywhere underneath the desk?
Anywhere on or underneath your desk. You can even put it on your chair and in the low back on your sacrum. If you have it on your sacrum, that's going to ignite your whole body as well. Another secret hack for this. So it marvels me to see health and fitness guys, working out, wearing earbuds, which are wireless technology, antennas directly in their inner ear, with their cell phone on their sacrum, which just shuts down their entire electrical system. It's just, that's like your power source of your body. So we want more awareness in the health field, please. And for all you fitness gurus out there. So the grounding bag does really wonders on your sacrum as well. So now you have your bed and your desk cleared. Now, to clear an entire house, because most people, when they go home, if you were to check on your computer and see how many wireless signals that you can connect to, that's how many millimeter waves, at 2.45 billion waves per second, that your body's basically fending against at any given moment. Plus, now we have satellites from above, they're beaming all the stuff down below us. So the fields have exponentially increased and will continue to at the rate we're going at. So what we want to do is clear your home. It's simple physics. The more of the mass of the mind you can compile together, the more frequency it kicks off. So we recommend now 5 grounding bags together per 2,000 square feet. So now when you have those on your floor in your home, Tile's excellent, wood's good, carpet still works, but the other two are better conductors. You put them on your floor in your home just together. That will clear about 2,000 square feet.
So you put them all touching each other in the bed.
All together as is. Just pile them together, put them on the floor. I like a bathroom tile floor. Put it underneath a cabinet. You won't ever see them. No one will know it's there. But what they're doing is they're basically changing that waveform. So when your router's on, you're good. When your neighbor's stuff's on, you're good. When your neighbor's smart meters are on, you're still good. You're not being, your body's not just basically trying to figure out what's tapping it all night long and all day long.
Got it. Okay. And then you said some other uses, like putting it on your belly or something like that.
Right. Well, you can just grab it and tap on it, just holding it. I treat concussions. I do lots of stretching therapy and, again, nerve work. So any contusion, concussion, a headache, it'll help with inflammation and circulation. It'll really help you produce more melatonin when you're sleeping, so you start to heal. It'll recharge your body. So you can directly put it on any area. If there's a growth, do this, like ace bandage that thing over that for 2 weeks and then see where the growth's at. Like when you're really bringing that negative ionic charge and that healing frequency directly to your body knows how to self-heal. It just needs that frequency to get there.
Got it. All right. I think we got it. Is there anything else, final words you'd like to say to anybody who's listening to this?
Well, I really feel that everyone understanding waveform right now and all that you've shared in your work for how our body works and how we boost our immune system, keep our life force up. It's so important. It's just the pillar for health, and understanding this waveform technology is huge for us. So really get out there and go barefoot, touch a tree, earth and ground. There's amazing books out there on earthing and grounding that you can get, and understand how we can get into nature. And our body loves light. It loves breath work. It loves proper nutrition. Let's get the chemicals out of our world. I think if we were to dive into more in Arthur Furstenberg's book, he denotes like all the major pandemics that we've seen from just all of them he attributes to shifts in electromagnetic fields, either cosmically or through man-made. Yeah. And when we can really keep our negative ionic charge, our bodies will adapt really quickly to this stuff. And that's when we get sick. That's our adaptation process. So make sure you keep your charge, your negative ionic charge, and be barefoot and be grounded and do your breath work and eat right and get your sleep while you're flushing, while you're adapting to these changes, and in order to stay healthy every day and really get out there in nature. And I love jumping in the ocean, start to understand how Mother Earth created us, and we're one with the universe. There's not us and then there's the universe. Like that's this living collective tissue matrix that I explained in the beginning. We're one with them. Like we break down stuff the same way the earth breaks down stuff. We heal the same way the earth heals. We're not above it. We're one with it. So we can't hide from anything. You just understand that when you have your life force and you boost your energy up and you use incredible solutions that God gave us from earth, like it's a simple way to combat these man-made waves, Tom, from another man-made source. It's going to be challenging to keep up with that, because these man-made sources, we're looking at 50 times 5G when you have the cumulative effects of any nuclear site, any smart meter, wireless, all that small cell site stuff.
Yeah. Justin, EMF Rocks, EMFROCKS.com. I am really glad I did this, and I know a lot more than I did an hour ago. And I'm going to, I had them at the foot of my bed. I'm going to move them to the top of my bed. And I keep this in my pocket, and I'm just glad we talked.
Oh, thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for all you're doing to inform everyone and heighten the awareness of everything that's going on now. Appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Okay, take care.